Well, Coatlicue, meanwhile, was decapitated by her children on the orders of one of her daughters, the moon goddess, who, with shades of La Llorona, was upset with her mother because her mother had become pregnant by a man who was not the moon goddess's father. There's a bit of infidelity here.
There's a little bit of a telenovela.
Little bit.
So even if you're a god, you get cheated on?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Women be trifling.
I guess so.
But from the bloody neck stump of Coatlicue sprung the fruit of that forbidden union, the Aztec god of war, Huitzilopochtli.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And seeing that his mother had been killed, Huitzilopochtli dismembered hundreds of his siblings and decapitated the moon goddess.
He's mad.
He then threw her head into the sky, and that head became the moon.
Oh, I see. Oh.
Yeah, they have the coolest fucking myths.
It seems to be
awesome.
none of you seem to pay attention to me unless I'm full. Oh, that's fine. Oh, now
Yeah,
you're all
please.
taking pictures. Oh, okay.
Moon
Oh,
goddess.
that's
No,
fine.
we love you, moon goddess. Thank you for
No,
the tides.
no, reason.
Literally,
Why
we worship
should you? There's no reason to call.
God. It's just, we love you. I'll call you. I speak to you every night, moon goddess.
I held you in my
I know. Thank you.
vagina for 9 months. They cut a hole in me.
I know, moon goddess. I love you, Mama Moon. I love you.
Well, in another La Llorona connection, Cihuacoatl, she of the bone grinding, she was also the patroness of mothers who die in childbirth. Because in Aztec culture, childbirth was compared to warfare, and women who died in childbirth were honored as fallen soldiers.
It was extremely dangerous at the time. It was extremely dangerous until like 1965.
I would say
Still
more like
think
2005.
Damn.
Yeah.
Still dangerous.
It's
It
still-
ain't easy to do.
Well, in a terrifying twist, these women became skull-faced spirits known as the Cihuateo, who would haunt crossroads at night where they would do what else but steal children.
Why the fuck did the conquistadors change this culture? I would have been like one of them. I would have been like one of the invaders, being like, you know what? You guys are really cool. You guys are crushing this. I don't
Keep
fuck
it.
this hat. Fuck all this Spanish shit.
Why don't we arm y'all and be with you guys and we all hang out here?
Yeah, and
Skull
then
God.
Yeah, and then eventually we'll turn it around and go back and conquer Europe.
Dude, that would have been
Europe could have
crazy.
used a little bit of cool shit.
Yeah, because I want to say a lot of this, people talk about, obviously that some of this is very symbolic of Mexican-American culture, or like a kind of the way we deal with each other. But this is really an anti-Spain podcast. And I'm still like, we need to go for Spain. I think that's where a lot of the anger needs to be directed towards, because they started it, making the plates smaller. All these fucking guys do all day long. They take off all afternoon. They just get to sleep.
Absolutely.
The rest of us got to go to work.
Shaped like a boot.
That's Italy.
No, that's Spain.
That's Italy.
Oh, God.
Now, when it came to an urban setting, it was said that Cihuacoatl roamed the canals of the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, wearing a cradle board on her back.
Oh, yeah, the cradle board. That's like the little backpack for babies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But on that cradle board was not a child, but an obsidian flint knife, the kind used in human sacrifice.
That's a cool name of like a new John Wick style movie called like Single Dad.
Yeah.
So it's just you just got a baby carrier, just like full of guns.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of just a cool knife. Bring
Yeah.
knife war. Bring knife fighting back.
Oh, yeah.
Obsidian
Watching some
knife
old
fight?
Jackie
Yeah.
Chan films the other day, which was on TV.
He uses everything.
So cool.
Well, ironically, though, the story that partly inspired La Llorona was not meant for kids. Instead, it seems like it was aimed more towards young parents. At least this is kind of my interpretation of this tale as I read it. In what sounds like a cautionary tale meant to discourage mothers from leaving their children unattended, a woman goes to the market but leaves the child behind in a crib while she goes to shop and hang out with her friends.
Madeline McCann.
Don't bring them into this. They're innocent.
But when she returns, the child is gone, replaced with an obsidian flint knife.
Cool, Dad says.
I mean, what? Wait, yeah. I guess.
Whoa, my fucking daughter's a knife now. Did you know so?
Most of the time when your kid is kidnapped, they don't leave anything. Maybe
No.
a ransom note or something, but...
Well, this signifies that Cihuacoatl has traded the knife for the child, and the child has been taken away on the crib, strapped to Cihuacoatl's back.
Man,
You know what
knife
you-
fairy.
Knife fairy's
Yeah.
really cool. What you can do is just say, they're going to have a better life that way.
Yeah.
And look at my new knife.
But look at this knife.
Kind of cool.
Well, to round out the Aztec influence on La Llorona, when it comes to mythology, another likely inspiration for this cultural amalgamation is a creator creature known as the Hungry Woman.
Yes, this creature, a lot of times what it'll do
That's
is
a name I can say.
when you sit to order food at a restaurant, she'll say, "Oh, I'm not very hungry right now." But then when you order something,
Yeah.
she'll take half.
Or when you're sitting at home and you're trying to decide what to get for delivery, she'll say that she's hungry, and yet every suggestion you make,
She says no.
Oh, guys, this is not your podcast. The husbands can be right sometimes every now and again.
Well, this wandering god, the Hungry Woman, she is covered with dozens of mouths that cry out not for children, but for food.
This is awesome.
It's said,
It's cool.
Yeah, it's said that the Hungry Woman is Coatlicue herself, the devouring mother who contains both the womb and the grave.
Yes.
We're talking, this is like gangbang gold right here. A lot of
Because of all the mouths.
All the mouths.
All the mouths.
I actually was thinking
Bang-
this is
blow
a good,
bangs,
I
they
feel
call
like the Hungry Woman's a good new that chicken. They have like a chicken pop up.
Oh, sure.
The Hungry Woman, and you
Hungry
just see
Woman.
all the different mouths, but there's a chicken sandwich for each one of the mouths.
And
I
see-
actually love that idea.
And Ben, I think you're in this gangbang. It's not going to go the way you want it
Why?
because there's so many mouths. All you're going to see is dudes' butts.
I hate that.
Think about it. Think about
I
it.
hate
You're
that.
only going to see dudes' butts.
Dude,
You
I was
just show
watching.
up,
I
and
was
you're like, "Oh fuck, I'm late," and then you just see like two guys on step ladders on both steps. You see two guys like in a triangle on each other's backs.
Yeah.
La Llorona is really just a parable about being late to the gangbang.
So far,
The Hungry Woman, I suppose, more the parable in that case.
But while La Llorona obviously has roots in Aztec mythology, she owes perhaps even more of her existence to the 1519 arrival of the Spanish conquistador Hernando Cortés. He was there seeking the 3 Gs: God, gold, and glory.
Oh,
can you feel the power? Can you feel the glory? This is where it gets complicated.
Yeah. Now, what's fascinating in this context is that 10 years before Cortés arrived, the Aztecs began witnessing a series of bad omens that they believed were signaling the arrival of mysterious men who would wage war on Tenochtitlan. Laying some very strong groundwork for the future legend of La Llorona, omen number 6 involved a native woman covered in chalk, dressed all in white. According to accounts, she wandered the streets of Tenochtitlan and was heard crying and screaming throughout the night, saying,
My children, we now have to live far away.
or,
My children, where should I take you?
Disneyland.
no.
Not now!
Supposedly, this woman was the aforementioned goddess Cihuacoatl. 7 years after that omen, a famine began, and Cihuacoatl again appeared in the streets of Tenochtitlan, crying in hunger. She would say,
Oh, my children, we are about to be lost.
Finally, to make all of this as horrible as possible, these omens were linked at the very end of the Spanish conquest, when it was said that the hungry woman ate a baby boy in his crib.
Wow, hungry indeed.
But it extends. So this is really kind of about like these. What they learned was you could take these legends and you could flip them for their own good. Like the conquistadors
Right, yeah.
understood that if you got in and started to understand how to speak their language, how they speak to each other culturally, that's the best way to manipulate a people.
You wrap a baby in a tortilla, you cook that up. I mean, that is not the worst.
You know, it comes down to it. Who knows?
Not the worst. Now, when you say not the worst,
If you're going to eat human flesh, I would assume a baby's flesh is slightly more tender, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
You've already done this. You've opened it up.
Just-
And actually, I know from accounts of cannibals that they say that those that have eaten baby meat, they say that it's very similar to fish, that it actually falls apart.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't
You
want to
did
bring-
this.
I was trying to bring some levity to it,
It
and I
actually would
realized
be-
it was the opposite.
It would be incredible in a taco.
Now we're about to get into history here, and it might be a little bit controversial. I know some of our listeners might have some very strong opinions on this one way or another.
And you're correct. We don't know. We've learned as much as we could about this subject, but for some people, it's just a line in a history book, and for some people, there's a lot of ideological stances attached to this character in history.
Yeah, and things that reverberate to this very day.
Are we going to get into CRT? Fantastic.
CRT.
Critical race theory. It's a joke about modern America.
Modern
Florida.
America. Modern America.
God, you guys.
We don't have kids. I tried to talk to Wendy about the racist beginnings of this country, and she kept saying, she said about pulling the ladder up and doesn't care what anybody else happens, and she's already made it to this country and she doesn't
All
care.
right, let's move on.